Hey everybody, welcome to Half-Ass Professionals. I'm here with Andrew, and today we're going to talk about best bang for the buck in the handgun world. But before we get there, we have a giveaway. So we're giving away 500 rounds of Brass Case 9 Winchester. All you got to do, like, follow, and subscribe on the channel. And when we get to 2,500 subs, we will pick one lucky winner, and we will send this to you. Or you can come and pick it up if you're local. But super easy to do. Like, follow, subscribe, then we'll send it to you. So getting into topic of today's video. This is a fun one because you hear the expression a lot of, you get what you pay for. So we're going to go over not necessarily cheap guns, but we're going to go through our picks, 3, 2, 1, on what we believe to be the best bang for the buck in the handgun world, at least of the stuff that we have here. So Andrew, I know pretty well. I have an idea of what one of his guns is, but the rest are a mystery. And I believe that mine are a mystery too. So we were trying to keep this secret to where we don't know what each other's picking, but moral of the story here is best bang for the buck and why. So you want to kick this thing off with the gun that I think that you've got in there?
So the challenge here is go out into the store and find 3 guns that are value driven. So my first choice.
I can't see under the table, so you can get rid of your jacket and stuff now to stop hiding them.
Which some people may think is obvious.
Yeah, no shit.
Is going to be a full-size M&P 2.0. But not just any garden variety 2.0. Specifically the range and carry kit.
Oh, yeah. That
so
makes sense.
The range and carry kit, you're getting a holster. You're getting extra magazines with a mag holder. You're also getting a Maglula loader. So you get all this plus a nice hard case, generally for around $600. Now, you're talking about an amazing high quality pistol that's going to last an incredibly long time. You already have a factory stipple job. You already have oversized controls. The gun is going to be extremely corrosion resistant. And you have the whole support system to go with it. This is a duty pistol used by many law enforcement departments and even some militaries across the world using something very, very similar to this. So I would absolutely trust this gun in my life. And to walk into a place and for around $600, be able to leave with every single thing you need, it's really hard to pass that up. You know,
I don't disagree with you.
So a lot of value, a lot of trustworthiness. You know, it's kind of a one-stop shop. You get everything you want. Bang, you're done. And like I said, I mean, I'm a little biased. I'm a Smith & Wesson guy. I love these guns. I personally have put about 20 or 30,000 rounds through this exact configured model. So I think it's a great gun. I would absolutely recommend this to just about anybody who's looking to pick one up.
I don't disagree with you, and I've maintained for years that I'm not the world's biggest Smith fan. However, I think the tides are changing. I think I'm leaning more into the possibility of picking up a Smith and trying to run it. I'm a big fan, and what's really selling me on it, not necessarily is, they've always felt good. I just haven't been able to shoot them very well until recently. Made a couple of changes to my grip, and started toying around with a couple of things in the range, and then all of a sudden I'm shooting them fairly well. But Garrett Thumb's video on his torture test on that gun, where he puts it in dry ice, and then they get to like negative 60 degrees, and he's got staccatos, Sand Vipers, Glocks, you name it. The only thing that ran was the M&P.
Oh yeah, and then
it's mud rest too. Yeah, I'm convinced. I mean, Smiths are one of the most reliable guns out there, and I would stack that up with anything out there. So
in a training academy that I used to work in, we kind of jokingly with one of those, that exact model, we actually, over the course of a year and a half, we put about 5,000 rounds through it of whatever a customer would bring with them, you know, cheap, crappy Russian steel case ammo. Not once ever cleaned or lubricated the gun for a year and a half. And then as a joke, after we had one malfunction, we took it apart and we put it through a dishwasher. And the gun came out clean, no rust. We didn't lubricate it at all, put it back together, and it functioned perfectly fine again. So, I mean, it's a good pick. It's a good pick.
There's a lot of value there. I mean, again, this is not about how cheap you can get your gun. This is about best bang for the buck. That Smith will run until, I mean, the end of time. Really.
Pretty much.
You get extra mags with it. It gives you a full support system with the mag carrier, the mag Lula loader, which is probably the best $35 you'll ever spend
Oh, yeah.
to shoot at range. But good pick. So
Now I'm really curious to see where you decided to go with this.
funny enough, there's no CZs on my list.
Really?
No, not at all.
I was holding a CZ75 and I put it back because I was like, I don't want both of us to pick this gun.
Well, I mean, no, my first one will surprise you. So, FN, specifically, the 509 Tactical. So,
The full size or mid size?
this is the full size.
Oh, wow.
So 17 round mags. But one of the reasons that I picked this thing was because of the case candy. You get
Wow, yeah.
4 of these bad boys, and these things are like $60 a piece.
Yeah.
So you get 5 mags with this gun. Now let's talk about the gun. All right. So it is a threaded barrel, full size 9mm that's optic ready. And then with FN, you have tritium night sights on the front and back. And then you also have this shroud over here to protect your rear iron, which is built for durability.
Sure.
These things, I'm not the biggest fan of shooting an FN, but that is a personal preference thing. I've never had an issue with their accuracy, their reliability, anything like that. Plus, there's all kinds of extras and stuff that you can do out there where you can improve these things, like putting a new trigger in it. Because just like a Glock or a Factory Smith, it's a duty trigger. They're 5 or 6 pound striker fired trigger. They're a little spongy, but you can improve upon that too. But it's an ambi gun with oversized controls too.
Probably the only gun that either one of us chose that was fully ambidextrous.
Yep. Fully semi ambidextrous.
Interesting.
So, but you can literally do anything and everything you want with this gun because it's a suppressor host being threaded. It's half by 28, so you can run any standard can on there. You've got night sight, so you can see in the dark. You've got an optic ready footprint, so you can put whatever piece of glass you want on there. And then it's a full-size gun. Plus, you're getting 5 mags, one 17-round flush mag, and then 4 of these honking bad boys that are 24-rounders.
Yeah, and like you said, FN mags are so expensive.
Anything that's a steel mag is more expensive than a poly mag, but you get a lot of bang for the buck here. I mean, you're coming in for this gun are mid-8s, but the basic FN is mid-7s.
Yeah,
You know, for $100, you're getting night sights on the front and rear. It's a threaded barrel, and you're getting, well, you get 2 mags with the other one, but they're 2 flush mags. You're getting their competition or their duty mags of the 24-rounders.
I mean, even if you compare it to the Smith & Wesson that I chose, it's really only about $200 more, and you're getting $200 just in magazines.
Yeah.
I mean, and not to mention the gun I picked didn't have a threaded barrel. It wasn't optics ready.
No night sights.
No night sights. So you're getting a lot
Mhm.
of extra with the FN.
So this comes down, would I own an FN? I would not buy one, but I would own one. I would not buy one because I don't shoot them well enough yet. And it could be one of those things, just like with the Smith argument, that I just don't have enough trigger time behind one. But I've never had any bad thing to say about FN products. FN's a military contractor. They have been for a long time. They have legendary reliability. They use the best parts, pieces, and have the best engineers in the world. So FN is a phenomenal company. Love what they do. Just this doesn't happen to fit me. I'm Cinderella and this is not my glass slipper, but looking at bang for the buck, I don't know how you get much better than this. We've got 2 options after this that get a little bit better, but
I will say in the years of us being an FN dealer, I can't recall a single time anybody's ever brought one of their products back to us with a problem.
yeah, these things are great. And they make them in all the flavors too. This is a gray one. They have them in tan, black, and there might be a special one green, but I know they make gray, tan, and black because those are factory guns. But FN 509 Tactical full size with a bunch of extras.
Interesting choice. The night sights definitely threw me for a loop there.
Yep. Because the 509Ts up until recently didn't come with tritium night sight.
Right, they had the blacked out sights.
Yeah.
That's a lot of added value there.
Tons.
Especially nowadays with night sights running over $100 on most guns.
Yep. All right. Getting down to number 2 for you.
Number 2 for me. This one I think is going to surprise you, but maybe not. It's a PX4. So this is a PX4 Storm Compact. So anybody who's familiar with Langdon Tactical will have heard of this gun. This gun is widely kind of recognized as one of the most rugged and reliable handguns ever produced. I think Langdon has, through this exact model, I think it's 60,000 rounds without any problems whatsoever.
But why? And it's because of the lockup in the barrel.
Right. It has a very unique lockup with a rotating barrel action. You know, they make it in a full size. They make it in a compact. It's an exposed hammer. It's a hammer fire gun. So for people who prefer like that hammer fire style, you know, you have that second strike capability on a dead round. It's just one of those things where, man, it's a little weird. Some people say it feels like an overpriced high point, but I wouldn't go that far. I'll say I've never once heard of a person having a problem with one. They're very popular, even though they're very not well known, which is a kind of a weird combination in a pistol. And I would trust this gun with my life forever. No matter what you do to this gun, it's gonna just run.
I know the Langdon video you're referring to, or at least the article you're referring to. So I know they burned that thing down, and the reason it keeps ticking is because it's the barrel.
Yeah, these guns they just run forever. They just survive. If you're the kind of person who is willing to spend that little bit of extra to make sure you're getting an absolute top quality product, it's really hard to just like steer someone towards something and say, oh, just trust me. Because I've seen Glocks break. I've seen Smiths break. I've seen just about every brand of pistol break. And you know what? Companies have great warranties. You can get them fixed.
Well, they're mechanical. It's one of the only things on this planet that's purely mechanical in nature. It doesn't take batteries. It doesn't take any fuel source at all. It is literally a mechanical action all the way through and through. So, but anything mechanical is prone to break.
The fact that I've only ever heard of these things breaking when people go out of their way to make sure it breaks, it blows my mind. Because I've seen the way people treat guns. And trust me when I say, whatever you think you can do to it, this gun can handle. So if you're looking for something that you can buy and you can trust forever, this is just, and like I said, it's coming in right around that $600 price point once again. And this gun's just going to work.
This is one of those things that just kind of flies under the radar a lot. You know, the PX series of guns, it's an awkward gun because it's a smaller footprint, but it's a double single hammer-fired gun with a decocker. Yeah, and I believe this is ambi. I mean, it comes out of the box with a slide stop on the left and right, but I'm pretty sure you can just flip the mag release.
Yes, you can reverse the mag release. So, but yeah, it's
a good gun.
Operation's very familiar. Just about anybody can use this gun very easily. With the hammer cock, the slide racks very easily too. The safety's easy to use. So for that price point of around $600 for something of that level of quality.
What's funny is the reason I don't think this gun is as popular as what it could be is because I think this was ahead of its time.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I think that when it came out, everybody was just like, you know, that's space age technology right there. And it's like, well, you know,
a lot of people were questioning the rotating barrel and its reliability. Well, it turns out it's more reliable than a standard breech because you can get a forward median stuff in there and it just keeps on running. So that's a good pick for number 2. There's a lot of value there. It's the price part of this has been driven down the last couple of years because the popularity is not necessarily there, but it's not because it's a bad gun. It's just, I think it was ahead of its time.
Yeah. I think it might even still be. And
a little bit, probably.
It's for that $600 price point. I mean, I'd probably rather pick that up than a Gen 5 Glock.
You're not a Glock guy, though. You're getting into some personal prep.
But I'm not a Beretta guy either.
I'm not either.
And
it's a good gun.
I think I'd take one over a Glock.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. All right, so my number 2?
Your number 2?
Mine's going to seem like a cop-out, man. But
come on.
It's hard to argue against it, and you'll understand why. So, it's a SIG box.
Oh, no.
And yes, it is a 365.
It's hard to think of the word. Okay.
So
it all makes sense now.
So we have the 365 tac pack, specifically the tac pack. So this comes in around 5-ish. It is set the standard for concealed carry guns in the modern era. This is one of the first guns out there was the hybrid double stack 9 to give you a higher capacity. The flush mags are 10 rounders, but you can go all the way up to the macro mags, which are 17. But this one specifically comes with 3 12-round mags. Again, steel mags. You're looking at $50 a piece.
Yep.
And if you want to run the larger mags, you have to go out of your way to buy the 12-round mags if you buy a regular basic 365 because they come with 2 flush mags.
And the basic 365 is virtually the exact same price as the tac pack, but you don't get any of the big mags.
So this comes with 3 12-round mags. It comes with a holster. It's not the greatest holster, but it's something to get you started. One of the things that I'm sure anybody out there that carries a gun on a daily basis has figured out, I guarantee you, the holster you're carrying your carry gun in now is not the first one you bought for.
Right.
So it's one of those things, just figuring out what works best for you. This at least gets you a starting point, and you don't have to pay anything extra for it. But why I picked this, again, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily subscribe to the whole red dot on a handgun or on a carry gun, but it's faster for target acquisition and for getting your target presentation faster. This is optic cut, optic ready to go out of the box, RMSC footprint. So you can slap a 407K, 507K. I mean, SIG's going to want you to buy the Romeo Zero, but you don't want to get down that road of how I feel about that piece of glass. But if you don't want to run an optic, it has tritium, or it has SIG lights.
SIG light
night sights, which are not a tritium powered night sight.
They do work very well though.
They work better than nothing.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to run traditional night sights, like a set of Trijicons or a set of Ameriglos, which is a Trijicon subsidiary, I would put those on because these are going to be a little dimmer, but they do work pretty well at box. This one is a safety model. I'm not a huge fan of a safety on my carry gun, but I get it. Some people are, and it's better to have it and not need it. You know, that argument. But overall, for the same price point of what a basic 365 is, you're getting extra mags, you're getting this more extended mags, the 12-rounders, and you have a holster that comes with it too. So for the #1 selling carry gun in the world, and something that broke the mold for carry with the hybrid double stack, higher capacity gun in a footprint that's the size of my hand, it's hard to beat.
I can't argue the 365 because I own 3 of them. So
my macro is behind me right now.
I know. I think I have a tac pack. My wife has a tac pack. I then also have an XL, and I'll probably end up with a macro as well.
So the 365, it's such a smart design because it's a fire control unit, so you can swap between frame sizes, and then just similar to Glock, if you have a smaller frame, you can run the small mags all the way out to the largest mags they make. So it's literally Goldilocks with the 3 bears. You can get, it's too hot, it's too cold, and it's perfect. For you and I know from shooting the 365s previously, the macro fits both of us better.
I'll admit, yeah, the macro fits my hand great and I shoot it well. But if I'm going out somewhere where I'm going to be doing a lot of moving around and it's summer and I want to wear really light clothing, throwing a 365 inside my pant line, I'll never notice that gun is there. It's so small. It's perfectly proportioned. It's so light. And it is still very shootable for a micro double stack.
Yep. But are you carrying the 12-round mags in it?
Yeah, I generally do.
Cause I can't, it covers half of my ring finger otherwise. So.
Yeah. If I'm not carrying the 12-rounders, I'm at least carrying the 10 that has the little pinky extension on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just size-wise. I mean, you're 6'3" and I'm 6 foot, so we don't have small hands.
No.
So the smallest 365 is just a little too small for both of us. But that's a comfortability perspective. But anyway, that's my number 2. So are you on your number 1 now?
I'm on my number 3.
Oh, you did number 1 first?
Yeah.
Oh, I did it backwards. I did 3, 2, and I'm going to give you my best value. So,
okay.
So your best value was a Smith?
My best value was the Smith.
Okay. Well, you're a Marine, so I'm not surprised you get full instructions. But all right, what's your number 3? And then I'll do my number 1.
All right. This one is going to ruffle some feathers.
Is it a Heritage? No, it's not Heritage. It's just a semi-auto.
A Taurus.
I debated about it.
A Taurus G2C.
I debated about the G3.
Okay. And here's the reason why.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Listen, you can get this gun in every color.
Under the rainbow?
Under the rainbow. So there's a lot of compatibility out there for it. There's a lot of good aftermarket. Here's the deal. Depending on the time of year, you can get these things for under $200. Okay.
And Taurus run rebates all the time. They run holidays.
Yeah, during the holidays, they run a rebate on these things every year where you can get these for like $190 or $180. I don't think it's possible to get more gun for the dollar than to get a Taurus G2 or a G3C. But I went with the G2 specifically because of price point.
Well, a lot of people have a sour taste in their mouth over Taurus from years and years ago.
Yeah.
Because this initially was the Millennium or the PT-111.
Yeah, the G2 Millennium.
And the company has changed hands twice since then. And one of the biggest iterations in those changes was actually having quality control.
I know. But these guns, I mean, for a $200 gun, you're getting stippled texture. You're getting stippled texturing on the grip. You're getting a mechanical safety with a trigger blade safety. You can get a stainless finish if you want, or a color or something like that. And I'm going to be completely honest. We've at this point, we had to have sold hundreds of these.
I bet you we're approaching 1,000.
And I may have only ever seen a couple have issues. I mean, it's so few.
I can think of 2, and those 2 are both user error.
I've seen on one, I've seen the guide rod break.
And that's, again, it's going to happen.
But I've seen that happen on half a dozen Glocks. You know what I mean?
It's going to happen.
So, and on one of them, I think I saw like the spring break as well. But other than that, I mean, we're talking a sample pool of 1,000 guns or more. And that's it. That's all I've ever personally seen. I personally know a lot of people who carry one of these. And I've even had lots of conversations where someone's like, I'm ready to get my concealed carry permit. I'm ready to get out there and start carrying, but I don't have a lot of money. Like, what's your bottom recommendation? And I tell them, don't go lower than this.
Yep.
This gun, I still trust it. It's still a good gun. It's a very familiar operating system. It's got the features you need and nothing you don't.
And the quality of a semi-auto Taurus today is night and day.
Oh, yeah.
10 years ago. But
absolutely.
Can I see this real quick?
Yeah.
There's one thing that I think is super unique about Taurus semi-autos that I think is very much overlooked. So you had the PX4 down there, which was a hammer-fired gun. So if you're in single action, you go to fire a light primer strike. You have a secondary fire capability. Well, one of the things Taurus does, this is a striker-fired gun, but you go in single, bang, right? Let's say you have a dead round. You can actually pull the trigger again, and it'll reset the firing pin, almost like a double action striker fired.
Yeah, it has that second strike capability.
It's unique. I don't know of any other striker fired platform out there that does that.
And one of the reasons that that's such a great feature to have in a concealed carry gun, and that's one of the reasons so many people still like to carry double single action guns, is because in that moment when you're panicking, your brain might only really be telling you, just keep pulling the trigger, just keep pulling the trigger. And if a round goes dead, and you're just still squeezing the heck out of that trigger, it might go off the second time.
Yep.
So you might get your gun back up in the fight just by continuing to pull the trigger, and the Taurus is going to have you back there, just like the other gun was, the PX4 as well.
Yep.
So, and I can't tell you the amount of times I've been in like a competition with my CZ, and the same things happened to me. I've had a light primer strike, and I just pull the trigger again real quickly, and the gun just goes right back into action like it's going to work.
99 times out of 100, a light primer strike, if you strike it again, it's going to go. I mean, rarely are you going to have a dead primer, especially with the way ammunition is manufactured these days. Now, it will happen. It happens all the time, but you're talking 1 in 1,000 as opposed to, well, I mean, what's the failure rate on primers from the factory?
Oh, I think acceptable
1 per box.
I think acceptable dud rate nowadays with 9mm is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 4 to 6 out of 1,000.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But in reality, just pulling the trigger again and having a second strike on that, you can probably run at least 3, if not all 4 of those rounds. So that's a good pick. You know, Andrew and I have a lot of guns. We've shot a lot, and that's something that I would trust my life with at this point. I would trust my life with a Taurus G2, G3, G4. I mean, the quality is much higher than what it was a decade ago.
One of the things that when we hire a new gun salesman and I'm walking them through the store and I'm teaching them like the ropes and everything, one of the things that I tell them is, you know, if a customer ever comes in and says, I need a gun, I have $500. If you show them a $500 gun, you're doing them a disservice.
100% agree.
I think that anybody with $500 who buys a Taurus, then they buy a holster, then they get a training class, and they get a few hundred rounds of ammo, and they go do some practicing, that person is better off than the guy who bought the $500 gun.
Yep.
10 times out of 10.
You could have said it better. I mean, it's that if your budget is X, you need to allow for extra ammo for training and practice. Plus, if it's your first gun, you should be picking up target ammo and defense ammo.
Sure.
Because if you're carrying ball ammo as your defense ammo, you have a really high probability of over penetration with the ball ammo than you do with the defense load. So I don't want to get down that. That's a whole different conversation, but you need to allow for some extra stuff there so you can be more proficient shooter and get more proficient with carrying. So it makes a whole lot of sense. It's a good pick.
So my ranking was 3rd place Taurus, 2nd place PX4, 1st place M&P full size.
Okay. Yep. So your M&P range and carry kit that runs, what'd you say about
600.
Okay. So my number 1 is about a $600 gun.
Okay.
So, Canic.
I knew there was going to be a Canic.
It has to be.
There has to be.
Same argument that I make for the 365, right? So 365, number 1 selling carry gun in the world for a reason. It broke the mold.
I was staring at the TP9
SA.
I was looking at the DA, actually, with the decocker, just because it was a little bit cheaper. Which one did you end up going with?
Not the cheaper one.
Not the cheaper one.
So I went with the Matei SFX Pro.
Okay.
So I was thinking not carry, because I did a carry gun, all right? So what we have here is the Canic Matei SFX Pro. And let me tell you, features galore. You can see the case candy that you get. I mean, hell, even the toolkit to work on the gun is a smaller version of itself. But this thing is awesome. So, out of the box, you have a threaded barrel that's also fluted and stainless. You have a big dot tritium front sight on here. If you were going to use it at night, you can still see. You have an optic cut that you can put any optic that you want underneath the sun on it. But you can also set this up for competition and race guns. So, one of the nice things, unlike the 365 holster, Canic partnered, and I don't know who they partnered with, but they make a really nice Kydex outside the waistband holster for this thing that you can run straight away with an optic on it. So, already a leg up, holster's way better. The other thing you get is you get one flush 18 rounder, then you get one extended 20 rounder. They have their speed loader, but it's just like the Glock when it's a piece of shit. But you also have a flared mag well that you can take off, but this makes for doing mag reloads a breeze. The other thing I like about this gun is the fact of it has this super oversized mag release.
All the controls on that gun are just absolutely massive, oversized.
But I will tell you where the Canic, especially when you get into this level of Canic, make their money. This is, and I think you'll agree, the best striker-fired trigger from the factory in the world.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the triggers on these guns are what sell these guns. People have owned Glocks, they've owned Smiths, they've owned CZs. Then they're like, oh, this is some no-name import company, and then they pull the trigger and they're like, whoa, what was that? And then they try it again and again and again, and then they're like, yeah, I think I need to buy one of these.
Now, I know back in the day, before they started having all of these super high-end models, when they brought out their first upgraded model, which was the Combat Elite, and it had a flared mag well, and it had a trigger, but it was a salient arms trigger that they partnered with. I'm not sure if Canic just licensed that or if they're making a version of their own, but this striker-fired trigger and any of these that have this flat blade trigger like this, so any of the pros, any of the rivals, it is lights out. This is a better trigger than most upgraded Apex and Timney triggers in Glocks and Smiths and things like that.
I'll tell you, if you go to like an amateur shooting match nowadays,
oh yeah, there's half a dozen guys running Canic.
There's going to be a very large portion of the crowd that is running some sort of Canic in their kit. And it's because if you're looking for a gun to get into sport shooting, I mean, holy crap. In order to get a Glock set up like this,
you're $1,500.
$1,500, easy.
Yeah,
easy $1,500.
So threaded barrel, you can run a can on there, or you can put a comp on there for stuff.
And Canic does make a factory compensator for it.
Yes, flared mag well that's removable. That's a aluminum it's either aluminum or steel. It's a metal mag well that makes sliding those mags, and they're super easy. This is just a solid gun all the way around, and you're not breaking the bank. You get all this for around $600. And I mean, they give you all the tools. They even give you a little wrench to take off the thread protector. They give you a toolkit that has all the bits and like Torx bits and stuff to take off and remove your optics plates. They give you everything out of the box. And what's funny is they have 3 tiers. They have a 1 series, which is just the gun and 1 mag. They've got their normal series, which is a lot of case candy. And they have their loadout kits.
Oh, yeah.
Which are a little bit more expensive, but it comes with more holsters, more mags, lights. It comes with an O-light. It comes with their mechanic optic. And you look at something like that, and the price points on those, I think, are between $900 and $1,100, depending on the gun. You're getting a $2,000 value on that kind of stuff. If you look at what the theme of this video is with bang for the buck, I don't know how you get more value than something like this.
Especially from the prospect of someone who wants to get into shooting as a sport. And there's virtually no better way to go than to start out with a Canik.
And I could have picked any Canik.
Yeah, you could. You could go to any one of them.
I picked this one specifically because threaded barrel, optic ready, and then it's got more of the oversized stuff for the home defense competition shooting, but even their carry gun, the MC9, it comes with an outside the waistband holster, the extra mags, it comes with its optic cut, and it comes with the toolkit and everything else. A regular Canik, no matter from the cheapest model they make, that's not the 1 series, up into, you get into, well, I guess, whether it be the Rival Steel or the Canik Combat from Terran. I don't know which one's going to be the most expensive of the two. Because I know Steel Frame Rival's around $9, and I think the Terran Combat's somewhere around there too.
Yeah, they're both really close to $1,000.
But I don't know a single Canik that is over like, $1,100, $1,000.
Not really.
So best bang for the buck. And you may be asking, is this an American-made product? No, this is a Turkish import. But I personally have, I don't know, how many of these we have? I'm asking, I'm like, you're my wife. Between my wife and I think we have 7 or 8 different Caniks. And I've run thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds for these things. Guys are shooting these in big boy competitions. I think Nils Johansson, who is the Canik competitive shooter, I think he's a world champion with a Canik.
And not to mention, I mean, half of our customer base here that shoots in our local shop leagues and our USPSA, a lot of them use Caniks as well. And there's something to be said about when you have guys coming in with their fancy race guns and then they have issues and they have malfunctions and it's like, oh, well, this happened or this or my Zev or my TTI Glock or, something like this. But I don't ever hear the Canik guy complaining about his gun just not working or him running into issues or anything like that.
These things have an amazing track record. They've been out in the market now for almost 15 years. They have been, not necessarily this model, but Canik is in general, but these things are amazing guns. They've tested the sands of time already, and they're competing in the same level, and they're in the same breath as what Glock, Smith, Springfield. I would take this 1,000 times over Springfield. But
I think when the guns first came out, the only negative thing I ever heard about them right off the rip was they came with bad magazines.
Yep, but then they ordered with Metgar.
And then they immediately, as a company, they said, Metgar, you make the best magazines in the world. Go ahead and just make ours.
I actually think that these are even stamped Metgar instead of being...
I think they're all made...
They say Canik, but they're Metgar mag.
They're all made by Metgar, but they say Canik on them.
Yeah, phenomenal gun. And again, you pick any Canik and put it on the table. I think for $600 though, with all this thing comes with, you're competition ready, out of the box. Anything you want to do with it, out of the box, you're ready to rock. So
that's one of the things too. Just the biggest thing I'm thinking of from this conversation is it's so hard to demonstrate this, and like from a sales perspective as well, because a customer comes in and they see just an endless cabinet full of guns.
They see a gun by itself on a post on a glass shelf.
Right.
It's hard to show what Caniks offer.
Exactly. Like in my Smith cabinet, I have 6 different full-size M&Ps. Unless you really take the time to have this conversation with like an educated employee, you're not going to know, the reason that this one costs $20 more is because it comes with an extra $300 worth of case candy.
Yeah.
So it's like...
It's stuff that makes sense, too. It's not just shit thrown in for the sake of throwing stuff in.
And that's the thing is, that's the whole conversation here is the value to it. I can't tell you how many times a guy will spend his entire budget on a gun that just comes in a cardboard box with 1 magazine. And then he's like, oh, well, once I get enough money to get some ammo, or once I get enough money to get a holster, or, I'll get to the range sometime soon. And then you talk to them a few months later and you're like, hey, how's that gun you bought? And they're like, oh, I haven't shot it yet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're both guilty of that, though. We both have guns we haven't shot yet.
I think I only have one. I think
Okay.
maybe.
Well, I don't know. We'll find out.
I don't know.
But that's it, folks. We have a lot of value-driven items here. Again, it's not going the cheapest route. It's literally how much money, how far your dollar is going to go. I mean, with your Smith, the M&P range and carry kit, legendary reliability, that thing will test the sands of time, and it will keep running no matter the stupidest torture test you do to it. It seems to keep running. Check out Garen Thumb's video with in ice and then in mud, too.
Yeah.
It was blowing away staccatos and sand vipers and Glocks.
And he didn't drop that gun in the mud.
No, he stomped it.
He stomped it.
So the first round was just throw it in a puddle, and then everything ran. And then he's like, no, we need to get these things.
Really?
So they just dropped him in mud. Then the other guy was like throwing mud on top of it. It was hilarious. But the Smith ran, man. It ran lights out. But yeah, I mean, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on the channel. One lucky subscriber is going to end up getting 500 rounds of Winchester brass case Smith. A couple of housekeeping notes if you're still with us. We have our Practical Pistol League, which is like 2-gun, just with a handgun, where you're running and gunning, and our Bay 1 or Tactical Bay. That starts Tuesday the 16th. It'll be Tuesdays and Wednesdays for 8 straight weeks. And then SIG Day is coming up this Saturday. So get some of the best deals you're going to see on Smith or on SIG. I almost said Smith. Get your best deals you're going to see all season long on SIG during our SIG event on 4/20. Note, not an April Fool's joke, just a happy accident, but nonetheless, we have some smoking hot deals. So don't forget, like, follow, subscribe. He's Andrew. I'm Zach. We'll see you next week.